Hello, and welcome back to episode 245 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis Brown. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here with me this week. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. I hope that you will stay and hang and bring people and just continue to enjoy the party. And if you're new here, I hope that you will do the same. And so, before we kind of dive into this week's episode, I really like to be foundational. It's really important to me that as we're setting up this safe space, I treat it like a house. And so, with that, I like to make sure that my house is built on two very solid foundations, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just want to make sure that you understand that I created the Well Done Life podcast because I believe in the power of women. I believe in the power of us sharing our stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, so that we can learn and grow from each other. And for me, creating this space has been a labor of love because I really want to make sure that I'm creating a space for women to really thrive. Because I know that there was a point in my life where I have wonderful sister friends who I love dearly, but we were at different points of life, and I found that I needed more community. And so I wanted to create the community that really I never had. So hopefully in this space that you feel supported, you feel seen, you feel understood. And hopefully by me sharing my journey, you can see my passion for you because I truly believe in other women growing and being the best versions of themselves. I want you to learn from my mistakes. I don't want you to do the things that I've done and the ways that I have done them. I want you to be able to find your path so that you can thrive. Everything is not struggle. Everything is not tears. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of joy. And there's hopefully a lot of learning along the path. I don't think I've gotten this thing 100% right, but I'm just grateful that I continue to be in the number and continue to have an opportunity to grow and learn. So I invite you to grow and learn with me. And along that line, my second foundation really kind of links up into clarity. It's love. Everything that we do in this space is love. And I hope you kind of felt that from before when I was explaining why I'm even doing this. Love is the root of everything that we will do here. This is not a space, like I said, for negativity. And so one of the things that I like to do every week, before we get really too far into any new topics in the episode, is I like to share prayers with you because I truly believe in the power of prayer. I believe in the power of two or more coming together in prayer. And I truly believe that I am not the only person out here praying these things. I truly believe we are all feeling these things. So essentially for me, I have been standing on a few foundational prayers for you guys and for myself. And so one of the things that I am foundationally standing on is peace. I truly believe it is essential for everyone to find pockets of peace. The world is extremely noisy and it's not going to stop being noisy. And so it's essential that you find moments to be able to just sit still and just to breathe and just to relax and regulate yourself. And I don't care how you do it. You can sit in a closet, you can go sit in your car, you can go sit by a lake, you can go take a quick walk. Do whatever you need to do, but prioritize moments of peace for you because it leads right into my second prayer for you, and that is clarity. I think it's really important for you to be able to have clarity, especially in noisy situations, because you need to be able to see things as they are and not be so emotionally charged. A lot of times when we're stressed out, as many of us all know, we are functioning on just pure adrenaline, pure stress. And a lot of times we're not thinking clearly. And it is essential for us in times like this, where we are moving strategically, where we are being clear and we are seeing what's coming in front of us so that we could just move accordingly. And so when you have moments of peace where you're able to sit in stillness and regulate your mind and your body, it allows an opening where you can be clear or get clarity about certain things that you may be trying to figure out. And so they do work tandem together. And that's why I like to keep them in prayer together. So because I want you to be able to have that peace and that clarity to move forward. And then my third prayer for you is always going to be love. And I'm talking good love too. I'm talking like good reciprocal love. I don't, we, none of us have time anymore for surface level relationships or situations. You need to be in spaces where you are valued, not just tolerated. And so I am praying that you are surrounded in reciprocal love and that you are an instrument of that love as well, because it's so important to pour into the people that you value. And that's your tribe. Those are your peeps, your clique. You want to make sure that they are pouring into you just like you are pouring into them. And I know it gets tricky. It does. I mean, I was just sitting here earlier thinking about the fact that I have a list of people that I either need to send text messages to, call, check in. Like, life is going to do what life is going to do. So don't get me wrong. I get it. But take a moment when you can to, just like I said, check in and to make sure that you are showing love the way that others show love back to you. And then rounding out my prayer, and I'm always going to stand on this, is abundance. And when I talk about abundance, I'm really straightforward about it. I want you to be financially abundant. I want you to be a blessing to yourself and to other people, of course. But I also want you to be abundant in your spirit. This is a very, like I said, fast moving time in our society. And it's always been that way. There's always been the desire to acquire more. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging it. But you cannot continuously chase material things without pouring into the other side of yourself as well. You want to make sure that you are creating moments and memories that are going to fill you spiritually, that you are feeding your soul, that you are nourishing it through faith, through love, through moments with the people that care and value you, that you are doing good things. Those are the things that create abundance in your soul and your spirit. And that creates a cycle of wealth that goes far beyond anything that you would see monetarily. So you want to make sure that you have a balance in that. And also, which I mentioned a little bit last week, and I always like to say this, one thing that we all have to remember is there's never going to, if you're looking to chase money, there's never going to be enough money. And because really, if you think about it, when you're constantly like focused on it, stressed out about it, chasing it, you always feel like there's never enough, like it's not within reach, like you have to go get more, like you're putting yourself in that position where you are running after it versus believing that it comes to you. And so I always kind of like to talk about the fact that, remember, you are abundant in your soul, in your spirit. You deserve nice things. You deserve wealth. Money comes to you, and money comes to you in ways where you are able to make strong, good decisions and be able to multiply that, where you're able to do more with it. So I want you to kind of think about how you can also shift your mindset where you're not always running after something, but it comes to you. You are always receiving. You're in a position of receiving. You have to speak life over yourself in that way. Speak abundance over yourself in that way. And that's a whole nother conversation, but I always like to talk about it and kind of not teach on it, but just kind of share that principle, because it definitely helps you change your mindset about it so that you are not being controlled by money, but you are controlling money because you know that it comes to you. You speak life over that, and it just naturally all comes together, because that is the power of manifestation and the power of being able to speak over yourself. So just kind of wanted to always like put a pin in that. But yes, I always want you to be abundant as well, like I said, financially and spiritually. And so those are my prayers that I am standing on this week. I hope that you will receive them with my full heart and that they bless you in a way. And so we're here, and I'm trying a whole nother setup. And for those of you that are listening, you can continue to listen. But for those of you that are watching maybe on YouTube, I hope that we're starting to get a little bit closer to what this looks like. But I'm trying a whole new dynamic, and we're going to see how it goes, because I really will continue to invest if I see that this is the path that I want to go, where I start to share the visuals, but it's just not always my favorite thing to do. But I'm starting to become more comfortable. We're going to leave that there. And I'm trying new things. So hopefully you like it. And if you don't, feel free to leave constructive feedback in the comments. And you're also free to listen on all streaming platforms. So that's my disclaimer for this episode. But I am recording on Saturday, the 24th. It is 2:23 p.m. A little later for me, but I was doing self-care today, and I'm ready now. So we're here. I want to thank everyone for their support of last week's episode, episode 244. And do not laugh because no, I do not remember the full proper title. So, of course, I'm going right to my phone while I'm talking to you because, yes, you could actually see this. So, integration over reinvention, because we've been in a series of sorts. And so I wanted to, like I say again, give you guys all the praise and thanks for your support of last week's episode. I really appreciate it. I got some beautiful comments and it really meant the world to me because this is a kind of a different approach for me. And then so now that we've kind of been, like I said, in a series, but I haven't really named the series, I feel like we're at that point where I'm going to name it, but we're also at the end of it, but not the end. It's just a jumping off point. And so we'll talk more about that as well. But I just kind of wanted to make sure that I kind of tee up where we're going with this episode. So essentially, like I said, this has been a series, and I really didn't name the series, but I am going to go ahead and name it now. And this is a series really titled I Didn't Change, I Integrated. Because essentially, how we started off, remember, we talked about episode 1 about the grief of growth, and how there is a cost that you have to pay sometimes in the journey of growing, especially as you are choosing yourself more, and how sometimes it can create a lot of different shifts in relationships internally as well as externally, and how you have to process those feelings as you're growing and becoming someone new. And then last week, we talked about integration over reinvention and how, I'm really at this point, and I think a lot of us are at this point as well, where we're realizing that it's time to stop all of this. I got to be new, like new year, new you, all these things. You don't have to be new. You were already enough before. It's just learning how to integrate the things that you're learning into who you are. And so this one, I want to talk about what it looks like when you're living what you've been doing. And really, I want you to understand that this episode isn't about understanding the work. It's just about understanding what happens when you actually live it. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about it just a little bit. And so, as we're kind of diving in, I really want you to think about one thing. When you are getting to this point and you're growing, healing in our life does eventually have to show up in our real choices. And that growth has to leave what we're writing down, journaling, what we're manifesting, what we have in affirmations that may surround us as we're going forward. And it has to enter into what every day looks like. And at some point in time, and I know this is going to definitely be a controversial thing to think about, is at some point in time, the work has to stop being something that you talk about, and it has to be something that you start to live. And I want to definitely spend a moment on that because that's always a hard thing. When you're on the journey of healing, and maybe it's just me, I notice that I spend a lot of time talking in healing speak, and I don't know if healing speak is really words, but we spend a lot of time talking in healing speak because if you think about it, like, I don't know about you, but I know for myself, there have been many times where, I just read the latest book and I have found these nuggets of healing and things that have resonated with me. And I find myself shifting and always speaking in a way where I'm talking about it. I'm talking about what I'm reading. I'm sharing the knowledge, which is what you really want. That means that you're on fire. You're passionate about what you're consuming. But at some point in time, it's like, when does that stop? And when does it just start to become something that you live and you model? Meaning, I don't have to always speak in that way. It doesn't mean that every day sounds like a chapter out of a self-help book. It just means that I'm at this point in my life where my life is actually reflecting what I have been learning. And so I want to talk about that because that really is one of the key things on this final journey. It's like recognizing, like I said last week, we talked about, you don't have to be somebody new, you just have to integrate. So I'm integrated, and now I've decided to kind of walk it out. And I know for me, walking it out has definitely been a journey. Like I said, I feel like I was one of those people that got always caught up in, you know, therapy speak or help speak or whatever. And I'm speaking it, but am I really, really living it? And I had to gut check myself not too long ago. If I think about it, probably my gut check for am I really living it and walking it out really was probably about 2 years ago when I went back to therapy for my limiting behavior, because I was saying all the right things and I knew I wasn't putting limits on myself. I was ready to make better choices, but I knew that I still existed in here, that I was still here, with my fears and my doubts, and it was holding me back. It was good to talk it, but actually walking it out kind of felt wrong. It felt ugly. It felt hard. And I'll be honest, I already had enough hard stuff going on. I was like, I don't know how much hard stuff I can face. But I had to face it because that's when I was getting ready to do the reset. And the reset experience is a wellness event that I did 2 years ago for women. It was a small, intimate luxury event that I curated with my brand manager, T.W. Walker. And we put on a beautiful event that day at the Wave Lake Nona Hotel. Yasmin Cheyenne, author of The Sugar Jar, and Wisdom of the Path was our opening speaker. And I put that on with just Tita. Like, we didn't have like a team behind us. So essentially it was just us doing this, and I funded it 100%. And so it was a real big act of faith and a real big opportunity for me to show that I was ready to step out of therapy speak, self-help speak, and really actually live it, because I had to stand firm in what I felt, what I believed, and what I thought was going to be this event. In spite of my friends and some of my family not feeling like this was the right path for me. But I had to do it because I knew that this is what I was called to do. This is what I was ready to do. And I had to stand firm. And so it was an opportunity for me to allow rubber to hit the road to show me that I was ready, to start to actually live what I had been talking about, because I had so many fears. I mean, like I said, I funded that thing 100%. There was lots of financial stressors, moments where I was in tears constantly. And during that time, I also reconnected with my husband. And so it was definitely like crazy, because it was like, I have to trust that I've healed enough now in order to do this really big thing, and to really allow myself to stay open to love and not shrink or try to soften myself. And so it really showed me that there comes a point in time where the rubber has to meet the road, and you actually have to walk it like you talk it. And this was that moment. And it was definitely a very challenging time. It was definitely an opportunity where I had to recognize that I was choosing to do something that was uncharted. I was choosing to love in a way that, wasn't the norm. I mean, my husband and I, we reconnected after going to college together when we were 19. And so it was like, okay, we're in our 50s now, and we've both lived a little life and gotten some scars and some wounds from that. And how do we actually live through, misunderstandings, and how do we live through long distance, and how do we find our path through past pains and hurt, so that we don't bleed on each other and destroy what we're trying to build. It was a lot of that growth. And I found myself like, going back and thinking about some of the things obviously that I've learned in therapy and really having to walk it out, really having to remember that this wasn't a season where I needed to shrink. I didn't need to shrink to put this event on. I didn't need to shrink to have the love that I deserve. I didn't have to not be clear. I was ready to be clear about what I needed in my relationship as well as what I wanted in my business. And I made a decision to choose partnership without losing myself. And that was on both sides. I mean, from a business standpoint, being able to clearly articulate my needs, goals, and objectives to my partner as well as other people that we work with, even though I probably am the one coming into the situation with the least amount of experience in this area. But I was resolute in what I wanted to accomplish, and I knew what the vision was, and I wasn't going to allow my vision to shift. Paralleling that into a relationship, same situation. I knew what I wanted in regards to love. I had been through situations where I was dealing with people who weren't emotionally capable of loving me in the way that I deserve to be loved. And I had finally done enough work on me to recognize that I don't deserve that. And I don't need to settle for that. And I wasn't settling because having love was something that I wanted, but it wasn't something that it was like, oh, this is a requirement. Like I gotta have this today. No. I was resolved in the fact that if I'm not going to have a relationship, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live a beautiful life, and I'm still going to be a loving and whole person. And the reason I'm throwing that out there, because for the single ladies out there, especially if you're of a more mature set like myself, I was in my 50s, or I am in my 50s when I found love. A lot of times people have the perceptions about us that we're just so sassy and so independent that, we don't need no man, we don't want no man, and blah, 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 blah. But that's not the case. It's just, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable being single. I was very comfortable being single, had a beautiful life. I've seen the world. I've done great things. To all the ladies with style and grace who are living that life, kudos, applause, all those great things to you. But at the same time, I just want to make sure people understand that even though we're living these lives and doing all these wonderful things, it doesn't mean that we don't want love. It's just we want the right love. We want the love that makes sense. We want the love that doesn't require you to lose yourself. We want the love that actually understands that partnership is essential without having to abandon who we are foundationally. And for me, that wasn't something that I was willing to flex about. And I didn't have to. I didn't have to. So I want to make sure I encourage you, if you are listening and you are single and you are hoping for love, you deserve love. You deserve good reciprocal love. It is out there. Don't abandon yourself and don't feel pressured to do that. If you do, then that might not be the right love for you. It's really that simple. And it's just understanding that you get to those points of, like I said, your life where it's like you're so resolute. You have to stand 10 toes down about what you want on all aspects. And so that is where you recognize that I don't need to therapy it out. I don't need to talk it out. I need to live it out. And so I made those choices to live it out. And literally in those moments, it was just understanding that also, I didn't need to shift and perform. I needed to stand in what I knew. And really, when I say stand in what I knew, I really allowed my discernment to take hold. I really allowed my faith to guide me. I always say this, I pray a lot. I do. I prayed even more than when I was in those moments. And I pray even more now, as I'm moving into this next season of my life. And I recognize that my faith didn't call me, or it doesn't call me to be smaller in love. It doesn't call me to be smaller in business. It just calls me to be a more aligned, like this new level of integration, this new level of deciding and recognizing that I don't need to try to shift and adjust and be somebody new in order to be the best version of myself. I just need to be the version of myself that I was called to be, I just I had to recognize that I needed to align with that. And so by aligning, I recognized that I could acknowledge my fears and then surrender them. I acknowledged that I didn't have to be afraid of love. I could be afraid of it and talk through my fears, pray through my fears, but I could still be open. I didn't have to have all of these walls built up based upon the things that I had learned as I've been on this journey. I recognize that I'm equipped to handle this, that I have all the tools inside of me to have the best love. And I know that God covers and protects me. And I'm going to go out here and love because my discernment allowed me to see that this person was worth it. And come what may, because he's worth it. I know I'm worth it. And I know together we'll be okay. And I think that that's where you have to understand there comes this moment of time, this moment in your journey where you recognize that you have learned so much and you're continuing to learn, but your discernment is taking more root because through those learnings, you are becoming more confident in your discernment. You are trusting more. You're open more because you feel more armed to be able to handle things as they come. You recognize that you don't have to put up so many walls and barriers to protect yourself because you trust that you have everything that you need inside of you to be able to help you move forward. You don't need to doubt yourself. You know that you can handle it. And if it does, for some reason, go south in either side of the life, you are prepared to be able to handle it. You're equipped to handle it. You're not going to shrink. You've got this. And so you got to come to that point where you allow that peace, that moment of assuredness to step over you, to wash over you. And when that comes, it comes in different phases. It truly does. The first thing to me that came is I got tired of explaining myself. I did. I got tired of explaining my choices. I got tired of explaining my boundaries, of explaining my peace. I recognize that in this moment that constantly explaining myself kept me tethered to other people's comfort and instead of my own alignment. And I got tired of that. You have to figure out when you're tired of that. Because literally, I mean, definitely, like I said, in life, it's definitely one of those moments where you have to recognize that you don't really owe anyone an explanation as to why you are doing things. And I even, like I said, I think about that as it related to me doing the reset. I had people who were questioning my decisions, like, why are you doing this? Why are you spending this much money? Why are you having this person? All of that. And I recognized in those moments that this person is coming to me probably out of love. And it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people, out of love, out of concern, out of their own fears, their own doubts, because that's also part of it too. A lot of times when people are questioning you so much about something because they don't understand it, a lot of times it's not because they're trying to understand. It's based upon their own projection. It's based upon their own limits because they can't see themselves going that far. So how can they see you going that far? And you have to recognize that energy sometimes. And you have to be able to hold back and recognize when someone is shifting that to you and stand firm. Because I think a lot of times, and I know for myself, I have been in this space where I have explained myself to people just so that they could feel better. Not so I could feel better, but so that they could feel better. And that's not my job to carry that. My job is to execute. And so in those situations, I lovingly said, I respect that you have your feelings and opinions, but I made this decision based upon my vision for how I want this to be executed. And I am confident in my vision. And that's it. It doesn't require extra details. It doesn't require me being tethered to anyone's emotions or expectations. It requires me standing firm in recognizing that this is my choice and I'm honoring my choice. And I understand that you don't understand it, but I'm still honoring my choice. And I still love you. How about that? How about those kind of conversations? Because it really isn't just something as grand as that. I mean, if you think about it, those type of moments can happen in really small moments of life. I mean, that could be as simple as not explaining, like I said, a simple decision, like I just showed you, but it could be also not accepting certain invitations. It could also be not responding immediately to people's texts and calls. I mean, your peace, your thought, your alignment is essential to you. You don't owe anyone explanations of how you move. You know what I mean? You really don't. Because you got to think about this, as this is a part of your integration. You have to recognize that sometimes integration and just really acknowledging where you are in the healing journey, it doesn't show up in the big moments. It really doesn't. I mean, it not all the time, not like I said in that moment when I was telling you about people questioning my decisions in regards to my events, whatever. I mean, it could be as small. I've had as small as questioning like why I chose something for dinner. I mean, in my family, it's because I wanted to, or I wanted to do it this way, and because I wanted to do it this way, I'm doing it this way. And whether you understand it or not, it's still gonna get done. You know what I mean? Um, it's just it's understanding that it's the smallness, and understanding that even in the smallness, when you choose not to feel obligated to explain something to someone and you feel peace at that little small moment, that is a moment of growth. That is a moment of integration. That is in a moment of alignment and choosing yourself. Celebrate those moments. Don't let those moments just go away. Remember that. Because remember, you are now recognizing that you're in this moment where you no longer have to do that, you know? Like for me, one thing I no longer negotiate with is my peace, because I really truly believe that if it requires me to overextend or over explain something, that's my answer as to why I should not be doing this. Like literally, I really am not. And that is non-negotiable. You got to figure that out. You know, one pattern in your life, one thing that you have done all the time that doesn't honor you, you have to recognize that one thing. So, and decide this is that one thing I'm not negotiating with anymore. Because I have always personally been that person who negotiates with peace. I've always been that person to try to want to make sure everybody feels good, the accommodator. I've always been that way. I'm good now. I don't feel that necessary, that pull to want to have to do that. You know, I'm that person now. Hey, you want to be wrong about me? Cool. As long as my peace is protected. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not in a situation anymore where I am going to over explain or overextend myself. um, I'm just not. And the moment that it doesn't align, I just have to pull back. What are you pulling back on? You know, think about that. Because remember, now you are integrated. Now you've decided what you're not negotiating with anymore. You've decided that you are at peace. Now that you've made those decisions, is where, like I said, you start to live it, and you just let it come through. You let your life be evidence of who you are. And so, like I said, for me, I'm at that point. I'm not doing anything that overextends or I go overextend or overexplain. I've really come to this season now where I recognize that I don't need to announce my growth. I need to live it. Yeah, I need to live it, and I'm living it. I really am, and I feel such a peace about it. This year has definitely started off beautifully and chaotically all at the same time. It's like beautiful chaos. That's probably what I should call it. It's like beautiful chaos. And I'm very grateful for everything, but I feel at peace, and I'm just not allowing anything to block it. And I don't need to announce anything. I feel like my life, if I were to look at it, it shows that I'm grown. It shows that I am making better decisions. It shows that I'm moving forward. And I think that that's where you have to be. You've got to give a point where you've recognized all this work, all this healing that you're doing, all this integration is wonderful, but you finally get to this point where it's like, okay, I'm still continuing to learn, I'm still continuing to grow, but non-negotiably, my peace is essential and I'm moving accordingly, and that's it. There's no more of trying to justify, there's no more of trying to make sure everybody understands where you're at. It's just I'm walking this thing out, and love to have you on the journey with me. But if for some reason this is not your stop and you can't rock with me, hopefully I'll see you a little bit further down the line. And if I don't, I understand. But it's always going to be love. But I'm choosing me and I'm moving forward. Yeah, I'm choosing me and I'm moving forward. And so, if there's one thing that I hope you take from this series, is that you don't need to become someone else to step into your next season. I really want you to hear that. You don't need to become someone else to step into your next season. You don't need a new version of yourself. You don't need to prove how much you've healed. You don't need to explain your peace. You are integrating, and you are recognizing that integration is trusting that who you are right now is enough to move forward. It's your turn to let your life speak instead of constantly defending your choices. So, as you move into whatever season is next for you, whether that's love, whether that's rest, or something unknown, I hope you choose alignment over approval. I hope you trust yourself. I hope you remember that wholeness doesn't end when partnership begins, it just deepens. So that's it, y'all. That's the episode this week. That's the end of this series. And I'm so excited about this new journey. It's time to move forward. It's time to keep growing, to learn, to live. This season, this next season, is about living. So let's live. I'm really grateful for you being a part of this journey. I look forward to you seeing me on this next iteration of journeys. I can't wait to support you on your journey. I'm so excited to watch you live. It's time for us to live, so let's live. I hope, like I said, you enjoyed this episode. I hope it spoke to you. I hope it continues to speak to you. I'm going to make sure that I have the other episodes of the series linked so that you can have it all together because, again, we're not reinventing, we're integrating. We didn't change, you just evolved, you just integrated. And so I'll put everything together in a nice little bow so you'll have it just in case as you're on the journey, you need a little encouragement, a little support. It's always going to be here for you. But like I said, I'm moving forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go in this new elevation, this new season of us living it. This is the season of us living it. So that is really where this content is going to start to shift. It's not about explaining. It's not about overanalyzing. It's not about beating ourselves up. It's about living. So let's live together. Definitely, if you have any thoughts or notes or suggestions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the show notes. I'm always open. And I really, like I said, value and appreciate you. I'm going to have all my information in the show notes as well. I hope that you are having a beautiful day. I hope that you will take care of yourselves and each other. And we will talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.